welcome back to Godsy Garage. In this episode, we made our way back up to my buddy Smitty's house to get some more progress done on the Nova. As you know, we're working little by little to get this thing running, hopefully by summer. We had to stop by the Napa on the way there. And if you want my opinion, the mark of a good parts store is a good shop dog waiting for you when you walk in. Okay, so I'm gonna start the fuel system now, and we're gonna start from the very beginning, which is the tank. And my main issue right now is that my outlet at the moment is what looks to be an 8AN fitting, and I'm gonna be using this guy, a 12AN. So the larger 12AN fuel tank tap is in.
You wake up in the morning, you say, I put on my big boy pants.
Now it's time to make the feed line. So got a bunch of fittings here. I always suggest get as many of the fittings as you can at once so you can get as much done as possible. If you can map your whole fuel system out like I did, do that and order them all at once, because you'll probably end up making a second order too. Well, with all these fuel fittings and fuel lines, we gotta need a place to run it to. So I started putting together all the fuel rails, getting them ready to put onto the intake. Now, I'm using Botch 210 injectors like pretty much everybody else who's ever built a turbo LS, but you get these O-ringed little adapters, and then you tighten down the little Allen head bolts. I'd say about 1 ugga-dugga tightness should be good. So we've got the main line, the feed line actually made, and now I'm going to show you guys how to make the main fuel line. So this baby gets some fuel. Now what I did was I took this really long line, minus 10 AN, and so what I did was I fed my pump with one size bigger than what my main line is gonna be. So if my main line was 8 AN, I'd feed it with 10 AN. Since my main line, this one right here, is 10 AN, the feed line is 12 AN. I put it in the car and I got one end all the way to where it's gonna be connected up at. And then I kind of held everything in place and stretched everything out and got the other end to the point where I knew it was going to be, and I was going to cut it. And then I made me a little mark right there. That way I didn't lose my place. Now, to cut this line is actually going to be pretty simple. Most people will have the tools. You'll just need a grinder or a pair of cable cutters and a little bit of tape. I'm going to show you how to do it.
This is how we do it. Da, 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 da.
All right, now I've got my line. I've just got something holding it right here with a vise so it stays still. But if you have glasses, wear safety glasses. I've just got the grinder here, and I've put a couple wraps of tape around my mark. This is gonna make it where all the little threads on the edges of it don't start fraying when I cut it. But now we'll just cut down the center of the line. And gives us a clean cut. Then when you get ready to put your fitting on, we'll take that tape off and close off this end of the hose. All right, now I've got my AN line fitting, and how these work is it's a two-piece system. When you get them, they'll come and they'll look like that. You just screw the end piece of it off, and it's got a little bit of a taper at the end right there. This is what is going to go inside of the actual hose. Then you've got your little nut right here, and it's threaded on that side, but if you can see, there's a little bitty space in the side of it. There's a space where in between this right here and that flat space inside of this, it pinches that hose, and that's how this seals up. And then right about now, this guy's gonna go ahead and start putting the locking nut part of the AN fitting on. He's gonna try to twist it on, and then whoop, he's gonna bang it on the table a couple times. Yep, that's definitely gonna help. Then he's like, hey, look, I got it on, it's on. So he's gonna put the other part of the AN fitting in and screw it in once or twice. Then he grabs his AN wrench. Surprisingly, this guy has an AN wrench. And he's gonna tighten it around until it's all the way tightened up. And here is my aeromotive regulator that I ended up not using because it's too small. After I made the main line, I put a Y fitting on and ran 2/8 to the back of the fuel rail. There's a V coming from the feed line. They both have their own feed, and they both have their own exit that then go to the regulator. From there, it'll be returned. But making these lines right here, sometimes having the right fittings is really important. And so just figured I'd talk about this real quick. When it comes to these fuel fittings, there's different types. Some of them that go inside of fuel regulators, pumps and things like that will actually have an O-ring. These aren't tight right now because I'm still mocking things up, but they'll have an O-ring built into them so that the mating surface, that billet aluminum, it seals up against it and there are no fuel leaks. After finishing up the fuel line part of the fuel system, it was time to trade out the A-N wrench for some heat shrink and do a little bit of electrical work. So we've got our relay mounted now, and what I've done is I went ahead and I've cut a good amount of access wire off of my hot feed side, and this is going to be connected to a inline fuse, because we want to fuse any kind of high output power thing, anything that's going to draw a lot of power. If you don't want it to blow up, short out, whatever, spend yourself just $1 or $2 on an inline fuse. We're going to put this in between this and its power source, which will be the battery, and that's what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing is I've stripped the wire. I want to give myself about a 1/2 inch on each side. Same thing on this side. And take this guy, see if I'll do it one-handed. Y'all think I can? Ta-da. And then go right about there. Yeah. Boom.
Nice.
Now, pop that little casing off, and then we'll twirl that up. We're gonna do the same thing to this side, and then we're gonna connect these two. Got that tightened, gonna give it the old 2-tug. It's not coming apart. Now we'll run that heat shrink up, get it around it. That's gonna make it where everything is nice and sealed off from the elements. I'm gonna grab my heat gun, and we'll get this tightened up. Now that we've got power ran to our relay, we need to get the power to the actual pump. All right, now we got power ran to the relay, power ran to the actual pump. Now we got to ground the relay and we need to ground the pump. Good news is in my case, I have the mount right here is actually welded in to the body, and that means it's going to be a pretty solid ground. Now we got to send some power to the relay to tell that relay, hey, turn on and actually give this some power, because the reason that all this stuff is hooked up and the pump's not on right now is because a relay, you're going to have to send it a signal so that it knows when to turn on. That's our yellow wire that we got right here. We got it running up and we're going to secure it, but we got it running up there and it's going inside of the cabin. So here we are on the inside of the car, and it runs all the way under the car and it comes up right here. I've put a little rubber grommet in there to protect the wire itself, and then I've needed to extend it so that it can get all the way up to my switch panel, or whatever you're going to use to turn your fuel pump on. Whether it be the ignition or an actual switch, it'll work the same. This might not be the absolute best way to do it, but I feel like this is the best way that I know how to use it, or I know how to do it. That's not much. Like I say, you know, I'm just some dumb hillbilly, but hopefully this will help somebody if you're wiring up a fuel pump. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thank y'all for watching. If you're already a subscriber to Godsy Garage, I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And if not, consider subscribing. We're always having, whether it be how-to videos, working on this car, or racing videos coming out. We got something cool coming out, normally weekly. But thank y'all again. I hope y'all have a good day.